Welcome to another Motortown post-event race commentary. Today we got the second set of Trophy Tour, meaning that it's kind of the same event, just at a different time slot, so having a lot of different people participate, and besides that, same car, the Trophy 2 with a 180 horsepower V8, and the same set of 6 stages going from all the way down at Ara, up to Lilo City, back down to Oldley, and around the new coastline there. So let's get right into it. There isn't too much to explain here. The one thing that I still would like to get into though, between the first set and this set, I tried to go to sleep and I had a really rough night. So didn't go too well, and I was barely awake at this point. So while I was awake enough to still decide to participate, don't expect anything good from me at this point. It's not gonna go too well. But overall, we got a few more people here, and I think the racing will be a bit more eventful, so should be plenty of stuff to talk about, just not with how I'm particularly handling anything here. And here we go. Starting in kind of third position. Coming up to the first turn, and if I remember correctly, this is already going to be Carnage. I'm going a bit wide, but I'm still being pushed even wider by Nightingale over here. Both of us ending up on the rocks. I'm trying to just drive back onto the road. I think Nightingale is resetting there. In front of me, I can already see that Bean for the egg binded over there, going off the track quite a bit. And even further ahead, we can see Scat Marfinio being more backwards than sideways even. And Psychic Eagle was also involved in that. And now Bean for the egg also kind of gets into what seems like a lag incident with Psychic. So yeah, while I didn't really have a good start, I'm immediately making back some positions here. Being also not driving the quickest, so I'm at least able to catch back up from this point. Trying to give him all the space in my work. I think that pothole there might have done him in. But yeah, I'm now back up in 5th position and I'm a bit in the clear from everybody else. In front we can see Milk, Neri, Omnihill and Chess. And behind me, all the other people that I just overtook. So, looking pretty good so far. And yeah, we can currently just enjoy the coastline for a bit. Milk actually binded in the upcoming corner. This is another one of those really tricky ones. Doesn't look like much, but if you hit it at the wrong angle, you can go really wide, and that's gonna be not too great for you. So Milk really got off track there, it seems. Chess for some reason also driving really slowly, so maybe they both got into an incident there, I don't know. But I'm able to capitalize on both of those things, whatever happened there. So I'm now in 3rd position, which is quite nice, but yeah, we also have some really good and fast racers right behind me, and I almost got pushed into the palm tree there by that stupid pothole. So yeah, I lost the position. Milk is also now right on my back, so gotta be careful here. But yeah, we are still going and should hopefully be a bit of a smoother ride than before, because in between the sets I adjusted my car a bit. I'm not entirely sure if I did anything to the suspension, but I'm pretty sure I lengthened my final drive ratio to make overheating a bit less of an issue. And I also definitely took care of my brake bias. Put it a bit further to the front to avoid spinning out in harsh braking zones as I did in the first set. So overall this should be a slight improvement. Coming up to another one of those deceptively tricky corners. Didn't run into the barrier, but this wasn't really all that quick and I lost a lot of speed there. So Milk is slowly catching up to me. I hope I can avoid getting overtaken here, but we are about to get into the real tricky section of the first stage. So there's still a lot of stuff that can happen. There's still a good stretch of road to go, but I mean, fourth position right now, we are going decently strong here. There's also a new rule implemented with this set that we might carry on forward, meaning that on the first race you can basically pick your starting position. A lot of people actually like to start further in the back than the front, but from the second race onward it's strictly reverse starting order to the finishing position from the last race. And yeah, since people often like to start in the back, we had to enforce that because it meant that people were really reluctant to line up, because whoever would line up first would end up in the front. And therefore, yeah, in order to get it going a bit smoother, we decided to try this, and it worked out really well. But yeah, I'm trying to follow Chess through all of these tricky corners right here. And while Chess isn't really too far away from me, if you look at the map, Milk is really right on my back, and any little mistake can cause me to lose a position here. And yeah, slightly overdid it with accelerating there and also hit the potholes, so yeah, kinda got stuck on the left there for a bit. Left plenty of space for Milk to overtake. I could have maybe been a bit more aggressive and tried to defend, but all in all I thought that would be a really bad choice, and especially with how barely awake I am at that point, maybe not tempt fate too much on the first stage. But yeah, we are basically through the tricky section right here. Still, the other two are not that far away from me, so I might still be able to do something here. A few more corners to go, but nothing too tricky. But yeah, all of us are going into more or less of a drift there. And we are really bunching up now, so this is so tempting to try something because they are really just right there. And maybe if I didn't overcook it in that last bit, I might have been able to do something here. But right now we are just on the sprint towards the finish line. And while I am catching up with Milk, it doesn't look like it will be enough. About 0.6 seconds between us, so this was a really tight finish. But yeah, despite not being able to do too well in this thing overall, at least not up until this point, still a really interesting race. And yeah, I ended up in 5th position, so I'm basically right in the middle of the pack. Milk starting right beside me, Chess right behind me, and yeah, we are going to see how all of this goes. I would also like to give a shout out to Psychic Eagle for that fantastic livery on their car, but also I hope that in another one of these I'll be able to show you guys Milk's car from the front, because that thing isn't just using the default Rusty livery. There's also quite a few things going on with the front lights, really going for the Rust Bucket style there. But yeah, here we go again, second stage. Gonna go through a slight bit of a tricky section before hitting the highway. Chess almost got me to go off into the dirt there. There's something happening in the front, which really didn't look all that great. So yeah, we are getting really mixed up over here. Hitting the 4-lane road with me being in 5th position still. It seems like we had a lot of back and forth with everybody else though, so yeah. I managed to still stay in my place, but I'm actually up in 4th here. Everything else around me got really mixed through quite a bit. And we got Neri going off almost into the ocean. So right now it's Milk, Omni Hill, me, Shaz, Psychic Eagle, Scat Marfinio, Nightingale, Neri, and Bean in last place there. Neri was pretty quick in the first one though, so there is a chance that they might make a comeback towards the middle or end of the race. Right now on the highway, as long as nobody has any significant damage, which might be the case for some people after what happened at the start there, we should be pretty safe here. My longer gearing might not even give me higher top speed here in the end. That always means that you have a bit less torque towards the end there, and yeah, that's something that you need in order to get through the wind resistance. But as it is, it at least means that I'm not running high or quite with high revs, and usually that's a bit better to not overheat. Yeah, made it through that turn quite well. We already got the other two people right in front of me still in visible range, so the race is still pretty open. We are about 1/3 in, and I mean the first part was mostly highway. So we'll be able to potentially do something here. Milk missed the turn in for the checkpoint. As I mentioned in the last video with how the stages were made and everything, it was a bit too much work for me to put in the extra bit in order to make the turn off points a bit more obvious. I hoped it wouldn't cause anybody to miss a checkpoint like that, but maybe if we host this again, I might have to go back in and put in that extra work. I don't really want to be winning like this, but on the other hand, sometimes you're just gonna take a position when you can get it. And yeah, we are going back through the industrial area here in a bit. Once again, not taking the actual coastal road there. That's just a bit too squiggly for me, and I want to have a bit more of a high-speed area here. Always gonna be careful about the flower banks, but seems like I'm not having too much of an issue here. I'm actually taking the corners quite well, so at least keeping up with Omni Hill here, I think. But yeah, Milk once again right behind me, so this might not go too well. But yeah, so far I'm keeping my position. I'm taking a lot of speed through the corners, and therefore it's gonna be a bit more tough for him to get past me at this point. Going back to the dealership, had a huge incident the last set over here. And this time made it past the dealership, but then this happened. So yeah, that's how Omni Hill got, how Milk got past me. We got Shaz approaching fast, and I decided to not reset yet and instead let him pass so that I don't end up resetting right in front of him. Psychic is also approaching, so I might have to fight for a 4th place over here. Because while I didn't mind giving up that other position in order to avoid an incident, I would really like to keep this one. So, while that was a bit awkward, I'm trying to fight for a position here, despite how that just turned out there. But yeah, we are both driving the cars at the edge of what they can do, and you just see how much they are drifting. These things are really... These are not track toys. These are really just cobbled together from duct tape, hopes and dreams, and yeah, we got into a massive incident where I still don't know how that all happened. I saw that Neri was approaching towards the end there, if we can maybe go a bit further back. Yeah, you can see number 6 on the map being also quite close. I don't know how Neri managed to take that much more speed through that turn. I mean, I wasn't really going too quickly here. But yeah, what a three-way photo finish with both of us getting also just punted there. And yeah, if you look at the split times in the end, all within like barely 0.3 of a second. Psychic ahead with 34.527, and then with 0.770 and 0.771 me and Neri. So yeah, that was close. But yeah, it was another 5th place finish here, so back in the middle of the pack I go, and you could have maybe seen that a moment ago, just all the stuff happening on Milk's car over there. So that's basically simulating a broken headlight by having one of the blinking lights in there and also one of the fog lights being on crooked, as if it was like a frontal collision that happened to the car before, which, given how the entire event went up to this point, is really quite accurate, I would say. But yeah, here we go, 3rd stage, going from Jeju City back down to Bayang again. Once again, got a lot of people in front of me. Don't know what happened between those two, but at least for Neri, it didn't seem to be a problem. Hearing stuff going on behind me that doesn't really fill me with confidence. Milk once again missing a turn-in point, but given that everybody else got it, I think that might not necessarily be a problem with my checkpoint placing over here. But yeah, I'm currently in 3rd position. Bean is in 3rd, Neri in 1st, and Chess right behind me. Same with Omnihill. But overall, as you can see, with everybody being in 17 percentile, we are really close to each other. Okay, going through the next little town here, this time around going to the right. But yeah, I'm just kind of following everybody else here. It's not really worth it going for aggressive maneuvers. Like, for example, with that little shortcut across the sidewalk. Really risky, but worked out for Bean, so yeah, there's that. But usually you don't get that much from it unless you may have already been pointing that way and trying to take the corner. The correct way might be setting yourself up to spin out or something. But yeah, overall, not really a shortcut to really go for, unless you kinda don't have any other choice at that point. But yeah, really bad part on my end for the braking there. Still in 2nd place, but, well, I guess not anymore. Chess just took that from me. And we still got some people behind me, namely Omnihill and Milk, so we are really wedged in between quite a few top tier racers, so this might end up with me losing quite a few more positions here. Could easily fall back down in 5th right here, and I mean, given that that was my ending position for the first 2 races, this might be the best I can do under these circumstances. But then now on to the west end of Jeju Island. Once again, these really nice but also kinda tricky corners. Chess almost overcooked it, I think a bit further to the right, and he would have really suffered from the same thing that I'm going through right there. I just had my car unsettled on that little bump there, and it all went downhill from there. Milk apparently also binned at some point, so at least I'm just down in 4th and not 5th position right now. But yeah, now on the highway I got a bit of body damage, so top speed won't be that high anymore, but overall nothing too crazy, so yeah, the car is still looking good and should be able to finish the stage gracefully. Trying to not be too aggressive on this corner, but also not too slow. Slight scratches on the side there, not amazing, but it was kind of alright. Don't know how I managed to get scratches on that side as well, but well. Here we now go to the high-speed part. Might end up overheating a bit, we'll have to see. Although it should hopefully not be too much of a problem. I think I'm also keeping a better eye on the temperature at this point, so if I'm upshifting really early, that would be an indication that, yeah, I'm definitely trying to avoid overheating here. Everybody else already ahead quite a bit, but yeah, Milk, while behind me, isn't really right behind me, so I don't really have to fear getting overtaken here. Also, this bridge still a sight to behold at night, so this is really quite nice. While there's nothing really going on here. Can barely get over 210 kilometers per hour, but yeah, we are just kind of cruising. Now the important part though is how do we slow back down. Getting into a bit of a drift here, which is not what we want to do. But hey, nothing too bad either. We lost a bit more speed than I would have liked to, but this is all still well and good. The other people are finishing and we are about to come up to the top of this hill as well, and that will be where we find the finish line and the end of the current stage. And hey, 4th position, that's really nice. And the other people had issues with overheating, and that's just hard to avoid sometimes. Okay, here we go. The 4th stage. We are now full-time back on OG Island, going from Bayang to the quarry to Dasa, and then Dasa to the finish line, the final one. Once again, mid-pack place. There isn't really much of a difference between 4th and 5th. We are always going to be in the 3rd row here. Bit of a warm-up before the start. It's not always easy to find the right point to start the recording. I don't want to wait until the checkpoint appears. But yeah, sometimes that means we are standing around for a bit longer on the recording, but what can you do really? Okay, immediately falling back, which might not be the worst thing to happen here. Especially with how packed the entire field is, it's usually a bit easier to avoid incidents if you are a bit further behind. Or ideally if you are a bit further ahead, but that's a luxury that I don't have this time around. Yeah, I don't know what's happening with those guys, but I'm just trying to avoid it, trying to hang in there. We managed to not get caught up in any of those incidences, and that gave me back a few positions here. But yeah, this is of course one of the more tricky stages of the entire run. Might be the most tricky one. The other contender would be the later part of the 1st stage. So yeah, a lot of slow corners, a lot of follow-up corners, so you're gonna set up for them before you're even through the corner that you're currently in. No idea what happened there, but that spooked me for a bit. So I might have to try and not stay directly behind Nightingale because I don't want to run into them like that. But hey, I might be able to go for an overtake here. Yep, upper position. Wasn't really easy to tell if they were still beside me, but at this point, yeah, I'm of course definitely in front. Again, a bit of a lag moment there. The map seems to be loading in large chunks, and one of those chunk loading lines is right there in that little hairpin. So you always notice some FPS drops right there, cannot really be avoided. But yeah, we got 3 more people right in front of me, so that would be really nice if I could catch up and maybe fight for a position or 2. Or all 3, I will take whatever I can get out of that. But yeah, there's also Omnihill behind me, so we'll have to see how this goes. This is definitely something that could go either way. Can make a few positions out of this, can also lose some. Coming up to the cement plant. So that's a bit further than the halfway mark, but also kind of where it changes from really tough roads to something that's a bit more on the quick side. But yeah, spun out right there, got overtaken, nothing that I took too much damage from, but yeah, that's one position lost. And given that it was Omnihill overtaking me, I don't think I'm going to get that one back. Neri might have missed a checkpoint there. So I'm back up in 5th position, which once again seems to be just how most of these races go. But yeah, the thing is with how the checkpoint system works out and the percentile, I needed a lot of checkpoints for the first part here to cover all the major apexes. Which doesn't really mean, despite us already being in the last third, that this section is necessarily shorter. I mean, it's definitely quicker with how much faster we are going. But yeah, in the end, with how this one went, yeah, there's definitely a bit more to the front of stage in the later part. Let's always keep in mind that the progress bar doesn't necessarily represent the actual progress through that. 50% can sometimes be just a third of the entire thing, or maybe already 2/3 through. That's really depending on the types of roads that you are traveling on and how many checkpoints were required to mark that out. But yeah, we are on to the 5th and semi-final stage here, and not off to a great start, I might add. I don't know what really happened there, but I was not able to control it. Nightingale also going over the edge there, so yeah. All sorts of carnage here. I think one principal error that we did is we packed our grid a bit too tightly after each race, so should have maybe spaced out the stuff a bit further just to give people a bit more breathing room. But as it is, we started basically not really bumper to bumper, but too close to that, and it was definitely too close to comfort here, and yeah, that's likely how a lot of the issues started. But overall, I gotta say the reverse starting order thing worked out really well, and I hope that we can stick to that. Helps get the races started a bit quicker because the grid is just going to form from a predetermined order, and instead of everybody trying to pick the space that they want to go for. Oh, that didn't turn out too well. I mean, I was also kind of not hitting the breaking point for the corner, but I would have only gotten off a tiny bit there. But since Chess was already in that location, of course, it turned out to be a collision instead. So going into this tricky area isn't... It's once again not off to the greatest start. But we have a lot of people in front of me, so we might be able to capitalize on that and get a few more places back. Omni Hill getting into a lead and also slowly driving away from everybody else. So really pulling ahead right there. Everybody else, though, is more seemingly on the same pace, so there might be still things that could happen here. And overall, I think this is also one of the longer stages, so we might be able to still do something here. And I think when it comes to the checkpoint and the progress percentage on the left, this is also a decent stage to demonstrate that. In the area before this, I had a lot of checkpoints really close to each other because of all the different corners there. So going into this one, it's a bit more spaced out overall. There are still some incidents like this one here where we have quite a few right up and close to each other, but a lot of the other ones are a bit more spaced out, so there is a bit more distance and time between one to the next. So while we were already at 50% coming out of that really slow section, it doesn't really mean that half the stage is already over. Just half the checkpoints, and they're not really all that representative. Although I gotta say, when it comes to the checkpoint placement, since I recently did a race on these roads where basically there were maybe 1 or 2 checkpoints placed due to the overall length of that stage, I could get away with far less than all of these. It feels kind of nice having people really stay on the road instead of offering up shortcuts like this. For example, you could really go on the inside there and just go off the road both for that turn and this one for a bit. I mean, the dirt does slow you down, so there is a bit of a trade-off, but I kind of like it as it is with all the checkpoints. If I have enough checkpoints for a stage, I'm going to space them out like what I have over here. And I think that really helps out keeping people where they should be going. And even if not every single shortcut that you could take here, every single corner cut that you can make would be worth it, just the temptation and the second guessing that you have through all of those things being open, I don't know if I like it too much. It works for some events, especially stuff like Cannonball or when you have a really low amount of checkpoints. But with what I'm doing here, I quite like it as it is. But yeah, we are once again in my favorite position for this event. Position number 5. Scott Marfinio right behind me and Psychic in front of me. I might be still able to do something here. But with how it all turned out, maybe not. Although I think I'm getting a bit closer to Psychic right now. Must have taken the corner a bit better than them, but yeah, still quite a few corners to go, and I definitely messed up a bit in this one. Also, Scott Marfinio apparently fell behind again. So that at least secures my position here quite a bit. I still hope I might be able to go for another overtake here, but we are kind of through all the important corners and it's just more of a straight line shot here. But maybe that's exactly what I need here. I think I'm slowly getting closer. We're definitely closing in right now. So if I can find the space to overtake, and I might even be able to do it on the outside. Oh my god, that's nasty, right in front of the finish line. Beaten by exactly 2/10 of a second. But hey, one more time, not 5th place, that's nice. Despite me still ending up in 3rd row for the next race. So there wasn't really much to avoid that one. Here you can also see Milk's car again. So yeah, just waiting for the start of the last stage once more, and it's just gonna be the desert race once again. Going down to the refinery, then back over to the Terra factory and up north past the gas station. And last time, let the engines roar, let's go, and let's hopefully survive this. Which isn't really that much of a given with how all of these races have gone up until this point, and it's already starting right there. Bean's car not being all that happy, but yeah. Managed to get through it without a major incident, but I'm falling back. I'm now in last place, so it wasn't great. Kind of a repeat of what the first set worked out to in this stage. Just seeing the entire field in front of me. But yeah, we got Bean and Scott Maffino as well having some issues there. I mean, that car is still on super spongy suspension. I don't know how well that can drive. I don't think it's going too well for them, but yeah, I should be able to overtake this. I mean, just look at the lean. Mine is definitely a bit better planted. I'm now running into a bit of a collision issue. So, yeah. We also had some other people who missed the corner and fell back quite a bit there. Psychic Eagle and Chessbot, and they just overtook me again, so that's how I knew who they were. So yeah, just trying to figure out what's going to happen next. This is really a tight race right now. Second to last place, we still got Bean behind me, but they seem to be quite a ways behind, so not really too much to be happening there. Scott Maffino took the last turn a bit too wide, a bit too fast, and ended up almost going into the refinery as a consequence of that. Don't know what happened between Chess and Psychic there, but I was able to get a position from that. We got Nightingale in 4th position in front of Psychic, and we are both slowly closing in on them from what I can tell. Everybody up ahead is quite a ways away, so while they are all apparently in a battle with each other, might not be able to make it up to them, especially not with something like this happening. Lost the place again. And this definitely requires me to reset. And of course the game puts me in the wrong direction, because that's just what it does sometimes, and there's another person approaching. Trying to clear the racing line, which should be somewhere on the right there. But yeah, I'm now in last place. And with this stage, the potholes are especially annoying. Even more so because if they get you to go off the road, there's a pretty decent chance you might not be able to catch it before you get stuck in the sand. But yeah, able to overtake Bean again. Scott Marfinio right in front of me, might be able to catch up to them as well. I'm not entirely sure if that isn't a stock trophy apart from the engine and potentially turbocharger. But I think I remember that some people really got into the event just before it started without being able to prepare much. I mean, I got my handout cars that I prepared. Pretty sure I also upgraded them and updated them after the last thing, so they should all be the same exact thing as I'm driving right here. Here we go, trying to leave some space but also make the pass. We might still be going side by side for a bit longer though, as it seems. Really neck and neck. But yeah, when something like that happens, yeah, I'm of course going to take the position. Not much to talk about regarding that. We are almost at the Terra factory. Also, the fun thing is, since this is an event-only server and nobody really does anything else on here, that fire in the distance, that was definitely also there on the first set, and it might become just a staple landmark at this point. The area might be perpetually on fire because nobody's going to put it out. And yeah, I don't know how I managed to lose control there, but at this point things are really falling apart for me. Still a bit more to go for this event, but I mean, it's the last stage. We are about 2/3 through it, so I don't think there's going to be too much crazy stuff happening anymore. The desert part is almost over and we are kinda going to the more tame part of the road. Yeah, once again catching up to Bean, trying to make an overtake on the inside. I think they may have slightly missed the braking point there, but they took definitely a bit more speed through the corner than I did. So still not in front of them, even if I was able to hit the checkpoint a bit earlier. But yeah, this might still continue if I'm able to potentially go for an overtake. Trying to set up for the next turn, go for the apex, and yeah, that's how you do it. Everybody else is like at least 400 or 300 meters away from me, so I don't think there's going to be much more happening, but hey, I managed to get into 7th position with a beautiful overtake, and I think I'm just going to take that at this point. And there was still this one S-band combination to take. I think I did really poorly on that on the last attempt, but this time around I'm at least setting up a bit better for it. But yeah, with how little there is to go to the finish line, this of course didn't end up being enough to get another position. But yeah, that's the second set of the trophy tour being done. What can I say? I love this event. Having much more fun with the car than I initially expected, and expect to see both the car and potentially also the event stages back at some point for something else. Likely not in this combination again, but maybe with other things happening here and there. Anyways, until then, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. See you guys next time, and as always, have a good one, and bye bye.